Welcome to the Desire More Show with me, Maury Ellington of Morph Transform Your Reality, where I help you step out of sexual trauma and reclaim your feminine power. If this is the first time you're watching me live, I'm so honored that you are here. On this show, I bring up listeners and I facilitate them, help them release traumas that are built in the body and help them create more space and ease in their body. And if this is the first time you're watching live and you want to be on the show, you can just ask to join and you can come up and we can see what you desire right now and how we can facilitate that for you. I have a guest. We're going to wait for her. If she doesn't show up, then I'm opening this stage for you guys to hop on with me if you want. All you have to do is ask to join the live. And I'm going to kind of lead you through an energetical process to help you just release the blocks that are stopping you from creating the life that you desire. So if that's happiness, if that's relationships, if that's money, just releasing those blocks energetically that are in the background, preventing you from really receiving what you want. And it's amazing when we start clearing those blocks, what shows up for people. And, you know, I've been doing this work with women mainly and some men for over 17 years now. And it's amazing what happens when we are willing to be vulnerable, when we are willing to open the door, when we are willing to let go of what's not serving us anymore. It's amazing what shows up. I had a conversation with a client yesterday, and she is in her 70s. And it's interesting because it seems like some of my clients are in their older ages, you know, I would say between, 50, 60, 70. And these are women that experience so much in their lifetime, you know, not even just, sexual trauma stuff, but on a whole, it was a whole different system back then, right? The doctors were like gods and everybody was, just doing whatever they were told to do and taking whatever medication they were told to take, even if it had no research. And the amount of shame around sex and just the historical stuff that they deal with, it's incredible to see what happens to a body that's carrying such a heavy load for 50, 60, 70 years and then releases that load. The transformation is incredible. And it's always so heartbreaking for me when a client is in that age, realizing that they carried all of that since they were 18 or 20 or 15 or 5. So if you're listening right now and life feels really heavy and you feel like you've been carrying a load, just ask yourself, what is the toll on your body? What does that look like in your body? What is your body dealing with? What are the messages that your body is sending you? And ask yourself, how much more time are you going to spend and waste carrying this load? You see, it's not normal to be in pain. If you're in pain, it's because your body is giving you a message. It's telling you, hey, something's up here and you need to look at it. And when it comes to our genitals or sexual stuff, sex has been such a shameful topic that so many of us were educated on it. We're shamed for it. We're told not to do it until we're married, depending what section of religion you come from. We're told you are going to go to hell if you do it. Okay? There's so much shame around that. But I see that area of our body as our powerhouse. It contains our power. It contains our desires. It contains the sense of our creativity. And when we shut that powerhouse down, we shut ourselves down. We shut ourselves down. And we are so ashamed to talk about it because we're afraid we're going to go to hell. We are afraid we're going to burn. We're afraid to be shunned. And so we think that if we just keep shoving it down and we don't deal with it and we ignore it, everything is going to be okay. But in the end of the day, it's not okay because you're not okay. And maybe it's not physical pain. Maybe it's mental pain, right? Maybe you have super high stress, super high anxiety. Maybe you lash out every time something triggers you. Those are all trauma responses to something that's going on that you're not listening to. These are all signals and symptoms to your body trying to give you an awareness to something. So I'm going to share a personal story of mine since I see my guest isn't here. If you're watching live and you want to join the show, please, you're welcome. Just ask to join and we can clear for you some stuff. I would love to create more ease, space, and ease for you and your body. That is my most, I love it. I love when someone comes in and they feel so heavy and they leave and they feel so light. And you can see that they just got another piece of who they are. So back in my late teenage years, I was dating a guy and I was really like in love with him, but I wasn't as attracted to him. I just got out of a pretty crazy relationship with like a bad guy, so to speak, or I don't believe in that, but you know what I'm saying. And so this guy was awesome. He was kind, he was loving, he was safe, but I wasn't as attracted to him. And I didn't even realize it. But my body, I guess, my body was saying signals, right? I would get UTIs all the time. And like my body was sending these signals and I didn't understand why that was happening. And I was, taking all the medications and doing all this stuff. But at the end of the day, it was preventing us from having any kind of, sexual relationship because I was just in pain. It didn't feel good. And it took me, I want to say, after we broke up and I went traveling around the world and met other guys and whatever, it just took me to realize that even though it looked good on the outside and it looked good, this relationship was loving and kind and supportive and, pretty much everything you could ask for, there was still a part of me that I was ignoring, right? There was still a part of me that was compromising. And I didn't realize it at the time, when you're young and you're kind of, you're just not as aware. And it took me a while to realize, right, that my body wasn't interested. There was something missing. I was ignoring that part of me. I was ignoring that part of me that was telling me, hey, just because this is a great guy doesn't mean you have to compromise. It doesn't have you have to compromise on your attraction. It doesn't mean you have to compromise on what you truly desire. It just means you need to wait a little more. Maybe you need to do some more work around this. Okay, so if something like this is coming up for you, and I'm talking about this because this is the endometriosis month. And I had an amazing guest speaker on my podcast just the other day. And she was talking about how, she's been suffering from endometriosis forever. And if you don't know what it is, it's a lot more than painful periods. I recommend going and listening to the podcast. She really breaks it down really, really well. But what was very interesting for me was that when her daughter turned 3 years old, she found out that she experienced sexual trauma. She had no idea this happened to her, but I guess it happened to her when she was 3 years old. And that's why when her daughter became 3, this kind of awakened in her. And so she woke up from this like almost nightmare vision, remembering everything. It all came up for her. And she actually went to therapy after this. Okay, so she went to therapy, but her whole life experienced really bad, painful endometriosis. And it was very hard for her to have sex. It was very hard for her to feel safe in her body. And now she's in remission because she's completely changed her diet. She's completely exercising in a special way. She's doing all these things to take care of that. But when I asked her if she's ever done any kind of energy healing, she said no, that she didn't really hear about it and she didn't really understand what it was. And the thing is when we deal with trauma and when we deal with experiences that a lot of times we don't even remember happened, then we grow up and we think pain is a normal part of our life. We think that anxiety is normal. Like, I just have anxiety. I just have depression. That's normal. That's not normal. It's not normal because you didn't come here to feel super stressed. You didn't come here to feel anxious. You didn't come here to hide in your house on a computer, on a phone, on a TV. No. You chose to come to this planet, to this body. You chose your body to come and experience life, to experience pleasure, to experience, what things feel like and taste like and smell like. You came here to enjoy the human experience in a body. But if you're so focused on being in pain, if you're just surrounded by that pain, it's encompassing you mentally, emotionally, you know something's up. And this is the time to let it go. This is the time to release it, to heal it, to remove it. Because you're here for a reason. And suffering isn't one of them. I know people talk about trauma and past lives, but we can clear all that too. That's the beauty of energy work. It just clears the heaviness. And when you clear the heaviness and you create more space to be you, the pain releases, because pain is this contraction. It's a contraction. It's just like a muscle that's contracted in your body. And a lot of times those are the muscles, because when you experience trauma, your whole body tenses up, right? Your nervous system tenses up. And so if you experience trauma, a lot of times the body is frozen in this. Even if you don't look like that, the body is freezing in it inside. And so every little thing are going to set the alarm system. You know, there's nothing deflecting. So every time something triggers, it sends you into overload mode. And your whole nervous system shocks up, and you tense up, and you respond, and you deflect, and you avoid and defend, and all the things that we do. But these are all trauma responses. So just take a deep breath in. I know this is a lot to kind of comprehend. But what I really want you to do is, there's nothing wrong about you. There's no wrong. There's no shame. There's no blame. There's no judgment. There is no judgment here. Because I've been there multiple times. And I'm sure I will still clear stuff. And I'm sure, even with my kids, I've done mistakes. I'm sure I'm going to, that's just being human in this human experience. But what I do know is that we decide what our story is going to look like. We decide what legacy we're going to leave. We decide what's going to be written on our tombstone. We decide what they're going to say about us in our funeral. We decide how to live this life. We decide how to operate in relationships. We decide how to make other people feel. We decide how we feel. And when you're acting from trauma, there's no choice in that. It's because it's unawareness. You're not aware. You're not aware of what you experienced. You're not aware of how it affected you. You're not aware. By bringing the awareness, by bringing in the awareness to what you've experienced or what you've been through, and willing to let it go, you just open a door. And that door brings in amazing things. Amazing things. And I know it because I've seen it. I've been doing this for over 17 years now. I'm going on 18 years. This work has been my lifetime love and passion. And there's nothing better to see a person that's been suffering for 10, 20, 30, 50 years let go, let loose, and finally find who they really are. And finally have the choice to be who they really want to be. There's nothing more amazing than that. And so that's why I do this show. So I hope this was a contribution for you. If there's stuff that you want to release, let go of, heal, just DM me. I would love to connect with you. I offer free 30-minute consultations. And I would love to have you on my show. I know sometimes it's a little vulnerable to be online, but if you just, take that step, you would be amazed at what shows up. So just choose you, choose awareness, start asking questions. What is this? What can I do with this? Can I change it? How can I change it? Just witness the energy shifting and changing for you. It's amazing what happens when you just start to do something. They say taking the first step is the hardest part. It's true. But if you take the first step and kind of leap into that fear, you would be amazed at what shows up. Use fear as a motivator, not as a blocker. If something scares you, just do it. Just go for it, because you know that there's something there that's going to be super amazing on the other side. So thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. If this was a contribution, please share and, share, like, comment, whatever people do. And if you want to be on the show, I have a link in my bio. So please use it. And if you want to talk a little bit in more a private session, there's a link for that too. And I'm here to support you in any way I can. Have a wonderful weekend, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.